All right, everybody, welcome. It's a chilly Wednesday night, but welcome everybody. Buffalo Wild Wings. How about a big hand for our Hall of Fame guest, Mr. Paul Hagen? Thanks for coming out.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. Again, for this fans view, we're here every month. We're starting to stack up the miles. We've been doing this for a while now, and we really enjoy it. They do a great job hosting us, and we got Jess behind the bar. Cam and Aaron are floating around, so take care of them as well. But again, thanks for coming out. It's a little chilly out there, so hopefully we can talk some warm baseball conversation, and you guys know the drill. You know, if you got questions, comments, I'm sure he's got a notepad already. He's going to make us look bad. So feel free to put your arm up. We'll be happy to take as many questions as we can. But again, thanks for coming out. Looks like a light crowd, but you know what? Sometimes it's rather intimate. So, again, welcome Mr. Paul Hagen, Hall of Famer, knows a little bit about baseball. So, how about an introduction? What do you got?
Me?
What do you got for us? Let's dig right in.
Okay. Well, I assume that we'll talk a lot about the Phillies tonight. The Hall of Fame vote that was announced yesterday. The free agency, and maybe where, although I know we don't really like to talk about this, but maybe where the labor situation is going in baseball.
Yeah, there's a lot to go in on that, that's for sure.
Looks like you hit a few hot topics.
Yes.
What? Let's jump right in. What did you think about the Hall of Fame ballots from yesterday? The two selections.
I wasn't surprised. I think we live in an age where a gentleman named Ryan Thibodeau does a great job of keeping an eye out for the people that do reveal their ballots, and he's really accurate about who he thinks is going to get in and isn't going to get in from any given year. And I think he was right on this year. I personally don't like to reveal my ballot before the election. I checked the box. There's a box on your ballot that says, are you willing to have it made public 2 weeks after the vote is announced? And I don't have a problem with that. But I do kind of like a little bit of suspense going in. A lot of that is taken away now. But I think both guys who got in were worthy candidates. I was a little interested on Carlos Beltran. Not that he did not deserve to get in based on his playing career and his numbers, but so much has been made over the last 20, 25 years about cheaters with steroids not getting in.
Right.
And Carlos Beltran, of course, was the guy who sort of organized the sign stealing, whatever you want to call it, the ploy or the plan when he was with the Astros. So I guess the voters who don't vote for the steroid guys look at that as a different kind of cheating.
Yeah, well, I guess they took it to the next level, right? With the Astros there, not knowing the whole ins and outs of it, but.
Well, I mean, baseball had by then put in a rule against using electronics to steal signs.
Right.
And they were doing that, which is kind of funny when you think about it. They used a very modern technique to steal the signs, and then they used the most basic technique you could think of to pass that on to the hitter by banging on a trash can. But and Andruw Jones, very good player. We can talk about this a little bit later if anybody wants to, but if you just go by WAR, which I think a lot of voters do these days, his WAR was very similar to Bobby Abreu's WAR.
Yes.
And Bobby Abreu doesn't get nearly the consideration, or hasn't yet, as Andrew Jones got. So I think that's kind of an interesting situation too.
Yeah, I was wanting to touch on that because a couple of them were a little shocking. That Jimmy Rollins was another one that wasn't up as high as some of them. Not that he was going to get in this year, but
I will tell you that I vote for Jimmy, but I can understand why people don't. If they didn't see him play a lot and they just look at his numbers, his career WAR, I believe, is under 40.
Okay.
He had 2 career years of a 5 or better WAR. So if that is your Rosetta Stone these days, which it seems like for a lot of people it is, you're going to look at that and you're going to say, no, I'm not going to vote for this guy. I think Jimmy is one of those guys you really had to see play a lot to appreciate his value.
yeah, well, true. That's why it's a little bit more easy for us in Philadelphia here to,
Right.
like you said,
Exactly.
we saw him. I mean, he is the franchise leader in home run or hits.
It hits, right.
So, I mean, you take that into account. MVP as well, won the World Series.
The defense, of course.
Right, the Gold Gloves, and probably could have won more, in different situations. So yeah, it was a little surprising that he didn't get the number of votes, and the same thing with Bobby Abreu. He was a fan favorite of mine, and he just doesn't get that respect. Hopefully, with Andrew Jones going in, that helps. For the people that do it all for the analytics with the award and that kind of stuff.
Well, Bobby's WAR is good, and like I said, it's comparable to Andrew Jones.
Right.
And we talk about 5-tool players. Bobby, in a lot of ways, is a 5-tool player. I mean, he wasn't a 40-50 home run a year guy, but he was a 30 home run a year guy. He could run, he could hit for power, he had a good arm. I mean, I know a lot of people around here kind of hold him against him. They didn't run into the wall a lot, but he also played 160 games most years. So
exactly.
I think there's probably a connection there somewhere.
And you'd rather have him playing on the field and putting up those numbers than missing them on the season. So, yeah, especially playing on the AstroTurf there.
Right.
A lot back in mind.
Do you think bad years of baseball in Philadelphia, has something to do with that?
Well, it doesn't help, obviously, but Ernie Banks in the Hall of Fame, and he never played in the World Series. So I think at some point, if you're a voter, you get a ballot, and it has a list of the players that these days in the screening committee that puts the guys on every year that they think are worthy. So that kind of narrows it down for you. And if you don't look at every name and consider it seriously, then shame on you.
Sure. What's your thinking on the? You're talking about Jimmy Rollins. We got to throw Chase Utley in that conversation. So what's your take there? I look at it more as a popularity contest in some cases.
Well, my first, when I look at the Hall of Fame ballot, the first thing I like to look for is a guy who is clearly the best in his position for a significant period of time. And the question becomes, well, what do you consider a significant period of time? To me, 7, if you're up there for like 7 years, then that's pretty automatic. You get under that, you start thinking, I actually wrote this down, I thought it might come up.
Page 2.
Page 2. Chase Utley had a 64.6 career WAR, which is higher than Andrew Jones, and 6 straight years with a 5+. Now, 5 isn't a huge high bar. 6, 7 is where you really, but that's pretty consistent for 6 years. And then you look at the total WAR, and you look at, and again, when you saw him play every day, and even as a diminished player, he went to LA at the end of his career, and a lot of people in LA will tell you he was a big part of of helping them have the success they had, even though he wasn't the player he used to be. So yes, I unapologetically have voted for Chase. And what you see a lot is a guy, and Scott Rowland is a classic example, starts maybe in the high teens or the 20s and goes up and up and up. And as I think most people here probably know, finished third this year behind the two guys who got in with 60-something% of the vote. So I think there's every reason to believe he'll make it the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think he will. And it was just a matter of, like I said, just being surprised. I thought Abreu would have taken a little bit higher step, this year. And then with Rollins, of course, being a guy that, because both of those are kind of pretty much comparable, and the other one during that time period was Ryan Howard, as well. And he had probably, 5 years, I guess, of total dominance.
Yeah, I think the one thing about Ryan is his high years were really, really high.
Right.
But he did fall off pretty quickly after his, ankle started bothering him, he started having the injuries. He also, I think, became a little pull happy. Yeah, he is. He only needed about 1 or 2 more years at that level,
Right,
to make it. I don't think he was probably.
Yeah, he was definitely one of the ones that were affected by the shift.
Yeah,
He came up, he was a 300 hitter when his first year.
and I think he let it get in his head too.
Right. Yeah, got to be a little bit of a pride factor in it.
Sure.
Yeah, type of thing. So, oh yeah, definitely interesting. So, how do you see the next? Like you were just talking a little bit about Chase. Do you see that with the next couple of years of players coming up, does that help potentially Abreu or maybe
I
hurt?
haven't really studied it. I think that the next year or two is going to be pretty wide open.
Okay.
I can't off the top of my head think of a real surefire guy coming up the next year or two.
Right.
Maybe there is.
Plus Posey.
Yeah, but I mean, Buster Posey, I think he will make it, but I don't think he's automatic. I mean, I'm going to have to look at him. He was pretty good, but there's not a lot, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Buster's got his chances as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you, since you were doing this for a while, how do you think the voting changes, from your perspective versus some newer generation coming up that are doing it? Like, does that conflict with each other? Or?
No, I don't think it conflicts. I just think that it's much more stats oriented than it used to be. And I think the old time guys used a lot of times what they call the black type method, which is you looked on Baseball Reference and saw how many years some of their stats had the black type that led the league.
Right.
And if you saw a lot of that, you figured that must be a guy that gets a lot of consideration.
Right.
OPS obviously is a relatively recent stat that I think people take into account. I think that, and this is a good thing, I think wins and losses for starting pitchers is much less important than it used to be. So, yeah, I mean, I think the voters have probably gotten a little more sophisticated. I don't know for a fact, but I got a feeling that back in the old days, it was more like, well, I'm a baseball writer. I know a Hall of Famer like too,
Right.
and I kind of did it that way. I do think that the writers today take a lot of pride in it, most of them, and really take their time and study it and agonize over guys that might be on the portal.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's not an easy job. Like I said, because you have your favorites, but also there are guys that are right there.
And the other thing that's changed a lot is, and there was a time when whatever your vote was your vote, and nobody ever knew it. Now there's a lot of pressure to publicize your vote or to let it be revealed afterwards, and that's fine. But I do think there are some guys who, if they are really on the line about somebody, that they would let the expected backlash influence them one way or the other because they just don't want to hear it. And I think that's a negative.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, real quick, just to go over a couple of things. If you're new to the show, go back and see Sue. Sue, raise your hand. Is Sue there?
Yep. Hi.
There we go. There we go. Grab yourself 2 free raffle tickets. You're entitled to those. You can also buy as many as you'd like at $1 a piece. We got some great raffle items that we will pull winning tickets on right around 8 o'clock tonight. So all those items will go home with somebody. There's a couple of great Phillies pieces. We're talking Jimmy Rollins. Just went in the Phillies Wall of Fame last year with Mr. Ed Wade. There's a beautiful autograph piece there. There's some other things. Hall of Fame coach Dick Vermeil. Some great stuff. Rudy, any Notre Dame fans in the house? There's a great Rudy piece back there. So make yourself comfortable. Go see Sue. Grab some tickets. And like I said, right around 8 o'clock, we draw the winners. We do a little Q&A. So you guys, if you have any questions, Lauren will be walking around the room with the mic. We also do trivia. I think we might be getting ready to dig into a little trivia here shortly. And then Lauren prepares a few questions for our guests every month. Nothing difficult. Nothing difficult. You know, it's like, do you like vanilla or chocolate ice cream? It's easy. It's easy, really easy.
You just gave one of the questions away.
Yeah, I know. Sprinkles or Jimmy's.
Oh, here's 2. Scratch them off. You got to do more work, man.
But again, welcome everybody. Buffalo Wild Wings. We're here every month. We got a nice little streak going, and we love to get here. So again, thank you. Johnny, you want to take a break and hit a couple of trivias, or
Sure.
what would you like to do?
Sure, we can do a little trivia. Get some fan participation here. All right, like we said, raise your hand so Lauren can see, and when she sees the first person raise their hand, she'll come out and get your answer. Hopefully it's the correct one. All right, which Major League Baseball team did Paul start his career covering?
Rangers?
Nope. The Dodgers. You got the wrong information. All right.
Because these questions sometimes become casualties. Is that confirmed? It wasn't the Dodgers?
Oh, yeah, it was confirmed. We confirmed everything beforehand.
Oh, yeah, we learned, huh? We finally learned.
Come on now. You're giving away trade secrets here. All right. How many years did Paul spend covering the Phillies?
25.
25 is correct. We got a table full of ringers over there.
Well, that's it. They hit their quota, so they're done.
All right. Talking about the Hall of Fame, which year did Paul get inducted into the Hall of Fame? 2013. That is correct. That is correct.
You're done. You're done. Done.
All right, here's a non-baseball trivia question that I thought was kind of interesting. I heard this week. There are 3 NHL teams that their last names do not end in an S. Can you name one? So like the Flyers ends in an S. So there's 3 teams that do not end in an S. And I think outside the box because of some of the questions might have gotten a little too easy. But I do the crowd here today. the Flyers are playing one of them. That's why it came up.
You might as well just give the answer.
Nobody's even giving it a shot. What's that?
Well,
Okay.
here lies the problem. I watched what went on.
Did they cheat?
Yes, they're certified.
They're cheaters at that
They're
table.
certified cheaters. Certified.
All right, it's the Minnesota Wild,
Yeah.
the Tampa Bay Lightning,
Lightning.
and the Utah Mammoth. Is that how you pronounce it?
Mammoth.
Mammoth.
So couldn't the Colorado Avalanche also be for the 9-5 forward?
So man, everyone, so it's 4. So there you go.
I feel like there's more than
No, I don't think
because I
so.
thought it was pretty quickly.
I think everybody else is.
Who said that?
Yeah, we said
Who
that.
said that?
Cheaters.
We said that.
All right, and then with the All-Star game coming to Philadelphia, can you name the 3 Phillies that participated in the first All-Star game here in Philadelphia in 1953? 1952.
1952 Phillies All-Stars.
You got 2 pitchers and a position player. I'm getting a stink eye over here.
No, I mean,
Oh, we got a hand up over here. He's thinking that I can see smoke coming out the ears.
Robert Roberts, Rick Simmons, Richie Ashford.
Ah, so close. So close. Wrong answer. You got 2 of the 3
2
right.
of the 3. Okay, so the first 2 were right.
I guess if you're going to give it away, sure.
2 out of 3.
2 out of 3. Middle infielder.
Anybody?
Nope, nobody.
Go ahead, Johnny. I'll give him-
Randy Hamner.
Wait, we might have it.
Randy Hamner.
Robert Roberts, Rick Simmons, Hutton Jones.
I just gave you the answer. Randy Hamner. Randy Hamner was the answer. All right. And
So where do we leave that?
well, he got 2 out of 3. I guess we can give him one. Since we don't have to. We can give him the one. What's that? You need easier questions. Wow, that was pretty easy.
That's a compliment, John.
I know.
That's a compliment. Meanwhile, back at
Back to the
farm,
cheaters.
Back at the farm, they're still complaining.
All right. And then what was the other baseball team that Paul covered in his career? Not the Dodgers and not the Phillies. You already answered.
Okay. All right. I was eager for somebody different. Anybody?
They weren't paying attention. You got the answer at some point today. Everybody's too busy eating their food that they couldn't hear the answer?
Texas Rangers.
That is correct.
Get them their check and show them the door, please.
There we go. Good job, everybody. Yeah. They didn't get the NHL one. That's why it was an extra one.
Yeah, but then Tommy Kelly brought up a good point. The Seattle Kraken, they don't know they're going to see them. John,
Wow.
what is this question?
This question just came off of the radio. It's all
I'm
my
really
bad.
challenged by on it.
Oh, we still didn't get it. Nobody even got an answer. Well, you could have thrown out some answers. Everybody's a genius when the question's over.
Johnny, don't be mad.
Oh, it's okay.
Don't be mad.
They get staged right. But
All right. Questions, comments? Come on. Where's our Lauren at?
Caught up on traffic, John, coming.
So I know he wasn't on the ballot when we got a chance, but if Pete Rose was on the ballot, would you have voted for him?
The first year that Pete Rose was eligible was also the first year that baseball conspired not to have him on the ballot. And there were 3 writers who sent in blank ballots in protest, and I was one of them. I don't think that I would have voted for Pete, because I do think that of all the rules you can break when about betting on baseball is probably the most sacred. But I also didn't think that, I thought that baseball is a Hall of Fame. I trusted the writers to do the right thing since 1935 or whatever it's been. And so I was really unhappy that they had decided they needed to do that. They didn't want him in, so they were going to rig it so he couldn't get in. And I just thought that was a really, I thought that showed a lack of respect for the writers.
I will also say this, I think that there was a time recently where Pete could have gone in. If you remember, 2 or 3 times he applied for reinstatement, and he was denied reinstatement, which I don't think that baseball ever explained that very clearly. If you are permanently barred from baseball, you cannot work in the game again, and with the new rule that they passed, you could not be eligible for the Hall of Fame. Rob Manfred could have very easily said he's still permanently eligible or permanently banned from baseball. He cannot work in the game again, but we can now say, as they have done, permanently banned players are eligible for the Hall of Fame. And I think it's more than a coincidence that they waited until after Pete died that they did that. I think they could have done that earlier. He would have gone to the Veterans Committee at that point. I don't know whether he would have gotten in or not, because there were a lot of the old timers who set him for betting on baseball. But I think he should have at least had a shot through the Veterans Committee, and I think baseball handled that very poorly.
yeah.
It's a great conversation, because I think we have a lot of Pete Rose fans in the house.
Oh yeah.
Show of hands.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Pete Rose.
Yeah. As a
Pete
player,
Rose. No.
as a player, you
No Pete Rose.
as
No.
a player, you got the numbers.
I knew you were a rebel.
I mean, here's the thing. I understand that there's a character clause, and I think that causes a lot of problems. But as it stands now, you have a Hall of Fame. You don't have the all-time hits leader in it. You don't have the all-time home run leader in it. You don't have the all-time guy who won 7 Cy Young Awards in it. I just have a hard time seeing how it's a real Hall of Fame. And yeah, I know it's a museum, and yes, I know their accomplishments are recognized in there. And yes, I understand the seriousness of not cheating. But I think the argument with steroids is a lot more nuanced than people like to talk about. Yes, it's cheating. I think there was a time when a majority of players were doing steroids to some extent. And I think a lot of players felt pressured into doing it because they felt like if they were competing for a spot on the roster or a spot in a certain rotation, that they needed to stay competitive in the game. It doesn't excuse it, but I think that's not the slam dunk conversation a lot of people want to make.
That's true. I mean, and like you said, the way people were getting paid as well.
Yeah.
the game versus.
I mean, especially at a time when home runs were seemed to be the driver of salaries for our hitters.
Right, exactly. No, it's true. That's true. Talking about that, you talked about it a little bit earlier. We had a lockout, right, in '93 or '94, and the steroid era came right after that, which kind of helped baseball come back. It's almost kind of full circle now. How do you think the lockout potentially might affect baseball?
Well, it could be a lockout or it could be a strike, but either way, I don't think it's good for
Stoppage.
baseball. I saw something, I think on The Athletic yesterday or the day before, where one of the writers said he had been told by several owners that the Kyle Tucker contract that he signed with the Dodgers makes the owners more determined than ever to have a salary cap. And if the owners are determined to have a salary cap, I think it's going to be an apocalyptic work stoppage. And I'm not sure. The one thing I'm not sure of is, in the past, the players have always stuck together. But in the past, it's been a long time since it's really come to that. And the players are making so much money now. I'm not sure if the owners are willing to really go to the mat and do what it takes. I'm not sure they couldn't win it. But then the question becomes, well, what if they won? How damaged will the game be at that point?
Right.
There's the old saying that baseball must be a great game because it survived so many attempts to kill it. So many bad decisions over the years. And that's kind of glib. It's been true to this point, but it doesn't mean that it'll always be true. And I really hope that both the owners and the players understand that they're both making a lot of money. They're both doing really, really well. And, I do kind of laugh when I think of owners handing out the contracts that they once again handed out this offseason, going into next winter, and then going into a meeting room and claiming we don't have any money, we're broke, we're poor. So I frankly don't have a lot of sympathy for the owners. Nobody forces them to hand out these contracts. My assumption is if they're handing them out, they can afford it.
Right.
And I think that it would be really short-sighted and greedy to do anything that would. I think the good of the game is kind of fragile right now. And I think that it would be really ill-conceived for the owners to push this to a point where there's a long work stoppage.
Yeah, that's my thinking as well. It's like I think it may even be more owners versus owners that kind of stop it, more so than owners versus players because.
Well, look, I understand why if I'm an owner of a team that's paying a lot of luxury tax, and I see teams like the Pirates and the Rays and Cincinnati and the Marlins, who seemingly aren't even trying. Why I'm going to say I don't understand why I'm giving them this money if they're not even trying. But I also don't really understand how a salary floor would work, especially in baseball, where you can argue that going out and signing a big, expensive free agent just to get your payroll up isn't necessarily the best way to win. Maybe you're better off putting that money into the farm system, for example. So I don't really know how that would work, but they have to do something. I do agree that they have to do something. The difference between the big money teams and the small money teams got closer for a while, and now it's widening again.
Right.
I don't think that's good for baseball in the long term, but I would also point out that before free agency came along, it seems like the Yankees won about every year. Since free agency, the number of teams that have won is roughly equivalent to the percentage of teams that have won over the years in the other three major sports. So this notion that having teams spending a lot of money is going to mean the same team or a handful of teams that win every year is not really
proven true yet, and free agency's been around for what, 40 years now?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was, you would just need the floor to make the players happy, because, you know, you gotta be able to, if you're gonna cap it off, the players still gotta get paid. So like, if the Marlins and the lower teams, like you were saying, had to spend $250 million or whatever that number might be, that money's gonna be out there for the players to go get. And you have a cap, you know, obviously for the high end, but that's where I think it becomes more of a owners versus owners, because
But so much of the salary is based on service time, and whether you're arbitration eligible yet or free agent eligible yet. So if you have a young team, there might be situations where you just have to give players money that they wouldn't otherwise have, or sign a free agent you don't really want just to get your salary up to a certain point, and that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
yeah, I mean, I see that point of it as well. Yeah, I mean, that's why there's a lot of things that need to go into this. And I don't know, do they know how what's the best, you know, way to go about
Right,
it?
and the other thing is, if a team like the Dodgers doesn't care, I mean, they seem to not care about the luxury tax. So if you have a team that's just willing to spend what it takes to make their chance, to increase their chances every year, then I really don't know how you legislate against it.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, they have more in luxury taxes than probably like 10 teams
Right,
in baseball
right.
that are paying for their whole payroll. So, I mean, just the Kyle Tucker thing, he's paying what, like $120 million, it's 125 million, something like that. Even though he's only getting 60, but that's what the luxury tax they have to pay. So, yeah, it's crazy, you know, the way that it is. But I'd be curious to see too. The other question everybody has is like, what's going to happen when they do have this whatever cap, whatever? How's that going to affect the Dodgers? You know, or teams like the Mets, or maybe even the Phillies too, depending on where that number ends up being.
My assumption is that you would almost have to grandfather that in. You'd have to kind of phase it in gradually and allow the existing contracts to play out.
Right.
I don't think you could all of a sudden tell the Dodgers, you got to cut your payroll $100 million next year.
Right.
I don't think that's really feasible.
Yeah.
Can we shift gears a little bit and talk some Phillies baseball, the off season, you know, where things kind of have gone, especially in the past few days. What's your take on all that? And you know, do you think the team is pretty much set?
I feel like the Phillies have sent some mixed signals this offseason. There was a time a month or two ago where Dave Dombrowski said something like, "We're pretty much done," and then the next thing you know, they're publicly admitting that they're in on Bo Bichette. Then they don't get Bo Bichette. They signed Real Muto, which is fine. But then there was a rumor they might be interested in Cody Bellinger, who actually signed back to the Yankees there further south. So that's not it. But then I saw, well, what about Framber Valdez? Maybe they could sign him. So I don't really know. I would call Dave Dombrowski and ask him what's going on. They would have done the truth anyway. So I don't know, but I think I don't know what the plan is. I mean, we are at a point of the off season where the options are not that great. I looked this up. Probably the four best remaining free agents are Framber Valdez, the left-handed pitcher, Eugenio Suarez, the third baseman, and two right-handed pitchers, Zach Gallen and Justin Verlander. Are the Phillies going to go out and sign somebody? How badly do they want to get rid of Alan Collins? Some days it seems like they really want to move him. Well, if they do, then I guess they make a big run at Suarez. an imperfect player, a lot of power, not a good defensive player, a lot of strikeouts.
Fits right in.
Yeah.
He fits right in with this team.
I do think that I was excited going into this offseason because it felt like they were saying, okay, we know we can't run this back again. We can't come back with the same lineup. And now they're basically coming back with the same lineup, with the exception of Justin Crawford in center and Adolis Garcia in right. So the core of the order, the heart of the order is the same. So I find that a little disappointing. I think I like what they've done with the bullpen, although bullpens, you never know, relievers are notoriously up and down. And I'm not sure about the rotation. Sanchez had a great year. He also was third in baseball in innings pitched. So we don't know how he's going to bounce back from that. Zach Wheeler's coming off surgery. Aaron Nola's coming off a year when he was hurt in the worst year of his big league career. So I don't know. Luzardo had a good year. We'll see. And I guess they're counting on Painter. Well, he's a rookie. He hasn't pitched the beginning of the big leagues yet. So I do think there's some question marks there. I don't think it will hurt them to sign another starting pitcher because you always need more than 5.
Yes.
And as far as I can tell right now, your 6 would be Taiwan Walker. So.
And he's actually your 5.
Well, until
start the season with the Wheeler.
The Wheeler comes back.
So
I mean, I think there are more things they could do. I would remind people that, a couple things. A couple years ago, they didn't sign Schwarber or Castellanos till spring training already started. They didn't sign Bryce Harper till spring training already started. And I'm also not a big believer in winning the winner. I mean, it's fun to win the winner. But a year ago, everybody thought, oh my gosh, the Mets, went to the playoffs and now they signed Soto. What are we going to do? Well, they won 4 more games than the Marlins last year. So, I mean, I think you want to improve your team. You always want to improve your team, but I don't think that signing the biggest, most expensive free agents in the offseason necessarily translates into a World Series.
got a question?
With all the stuff going on with the Phillies management, how long do you think it would take them to say, hey, this is enough? If we don't win the World Series, we're going to start cutting players?
Well, I think that attrition tends to come naturally in baseball. You get older, you get less productive, and I think you would be silly to cut a player unless you had a player to replace that guy with that was at least as good as the guy you cut. So that's where the farm system comes in, that's where trades come in, that's where free agency comes in. But if I'm the Phillies, and I will say this, I think they've done a really good job of not trading away the farm system to this point, and I think that's important. I don't care how much stupid money you have. You can't just buy a team. At some point, you got to have younger players, to balance off the payroll, to keep your payroll in a manageable place, and secondly, just because younger players bring enthusiasm. They bring energy. That's why I'm excited to see Justin Crawford and Painter this year. And, if they can find a way to put Aiden Miller in the mix, I'd be happy to see that too. I think if you're not going to, I think they got to start mixing some of these young guys in.
I agree.
Yeah.
With Rob Thompson as a manager, do you think if they don't perform as well this coming year, that he's on the line with being replaced?
Well, I wouldn't have thought Sean McDermott was on the line, but apparently he was. I have a few thoughts about that. One is I think that it's a lot more difficult to manage a veteran, highly paid, big name team than people give it credit for sometimes. There's a lot of ego.
that has to be dealt with. But if I were running the Phillies, or if I were running any team, my rule of thumb with the manager is, did he get everything there was to get out of that team? You take into account the injuries, you take into account everything that happened. Did he get the most out of that team that he could have reasonably been expected to get? And you kind of have to be there every day to get a sense of that, to know. I mean, if the Phillies win 98 games next year, but the Mets win 110, and they end up playing the Mets in the NL Championship game, and they get beat 4-3 on a one-run game in Game 7. Well, I don't know. It really depends. But if there's a feeling that he's lost the team, if there's a feeling that the players have stopped listening to him, that they're not responding to him. The other thing I find interesting, and this is just me looking at it from a distance, I really don't know, but all you ever hear Rob Thompson say is what a great clubhouse they have. Well, they're going to get rid of Castellanos because he was unhappy. They got rid of Strom because I guess they thought he was unhappy. I know they're unhappy with Bone's immaturity from time to time. So I'm not sure if the clubhouse chemistry is as good as they try to pretend it is at some times. And the fact that Castellanos apparently is going, Strom is already gone, and Bone could be going, I wonder if that indicates they are a lot more concerned about team chemistry than they've really let on so far.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it is. And then how much do you think, talking about Rob Thompson as well, but how much do you think the move of Don Adley coming in here is going to help Rob himself, but also help the players as well, being a different perspective?
Well, I mean, it always helps to have a veteran guy around. Even the best manager can use a guy at his right hand that he can bounce ideas off. What do you think about this? I think some people might look at it as a potential successor
Right.
being added, which, maybe it is. I mean, if they did make a mid-season change at this point, he would probably be a logical guy to take over. But again, I don't think you can base it just on wins and losses. I think you have to base it on everything, injuries, and do you think the team is underachieving or not?
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. But I do agree with you though too about the Framber Valdez. I think that would be a nice addition, to this rotation, because we were already prior to his injury had said this was going to be his last year anyway. When his contract ran out, he was going to be retiring. So, it helps, having another guy, and I think that's part of the reason why we were so competitive with the Dodgers was we had all those lefties to be able to handle Freeman and Ohtani, and now Tucker, being there as well. That I think that helped us through the playoffs, and even though we didn't get to the ultimate goal, but while we were involved in those games, that we were able to keep them off balance a little bit. And then Framber Valdez, after losing Ranger, might be a nice little piece there.
And Ranger's another interesting thing. I don't know that was all money either. There were also some whispers that he was the hardest worker in the world. That he didn't stay in as good a shape as he should have stayed in. So, and they clearly they didn't even pretend to try to bring it back from the start. So maybe even though they're quote unquote running it back, they're making some different kind of changes that we haven't paid enough attention to.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, they've made some moves. Different teams gonna be different. Like you said, though, with the core of that lineup.
But that lineup is going to be really familiar.
Oh yeah.
All right, we're going to bring Lauren in. She's in charge of fun and games. So.
My official title.
John Fraser retired, so we got to take, somebody else has got to take that seat.
All right, so I have 7 questions for you. Some have to do with baseball, some don't. But we just want the first thing that kind of comes to your mind, and if you have a good story about it, yeah, we want to hear that. What is the best concert you've ever been to?
I am not a big concert guy, but I did, I had a chance to go, I always want to see Simon and Garfunkel. And my wife and kids were going to take me to Atlantic City and they canceled it. But I did get to see Paul Simon recently when he came to Philly. So that would probably be it.
All right. Favorite stadium you've ever been to?
Well, I think you kind of have to put that in a couple different categories.
Okay.
Wrigley Field before lights was fabulous, just because of the history.
Sure.
And Fenway Park, of course, for the same reason, historical. But my favorite park today is Pittsburgh. I just think the setting is spectacular. The river, the Clemente Bridge, the downtown. If they could ever put a team in there that's as good as their stadium, they really have something.
Anthony's crying over there now.
Do you have a piece of memorabilia in your collection that's like a prized possession to you?
I do.
Okay.
When I was in elementary school, the first book I ever read was called The Pee Wee Reese Story. Pee Wee Reese was a Brooklyn Dodgers shortstop. And that was really what started me off as a baseball fan. And several years ago, at the Grand Run Mall, they were having one of these autograph shows.
Okay.
And they had a Pee Wee Reese signed ball. So I bought that, and that would probably be good.
Who was your favorite player to cover? Did you have a particular player that you really sort of vibed with?
Well, again, you kind of got to put that in categories. In terms of being good to cover, in terms of like quotes and being colorful, and players like Kurt Schilling and Lenny Dykstra and Mitch Williams and players like that. But in terms of just being wonderful human beings, you have to talk about Jim Thome, Dale Murphy, Rico Brogna, Doug Landville.
What was one memorable thing from your Hall of Fame induction weekend? Like, what do you remember? What was one thing, obviously, other than going in, but what was something that stood out to you?
A lot of my peers in Philadelphia made the trip to be there, and I don't know who's been to Cooperstown, who hasn't, but it's not the easiest place in the world to get to. kind of out of the way. So the fact that so many of the other writers and people I've worked with made the effort to come up and share that with me was really special.
You kind of touched on it earlier, but maybe it's a different answer. Is there one player not in the Hall of Fame that you think should be?
Oh, wow, that's a good one. I was always a proponent. I voted for Jeff Kent. Almost every year he was on the ballot. I think every year he was on the ballot. So the fact that he got into the Veterans Committee makes me happy. So that would be the one that occurs to me. I'm sure there are a few, but I'm more of a minimalist. I think if somebody is on the line, if you have to think about it too long, then probably you're better off not voting for it.
Okay. And the last one, how many hot dogs do you think you can eat in one sitting?
Ballpark hot dogs? Well, easily 2 or 3, but if it was like a Cody Island contest, I don't know, 5 or 6 maybe. I certainly wouldn't be Joey Chestnut, I can tell you.
Absolutely.
At least,
Good job.
at least one in there. Yeah.
Good job. Following that up, as we get ready to close out the show, questions, comments. I mean, this is a Hall of Fame moment for us. have a guest of this caliber to talk, all things baseball. We covered them all. Yeah, go ahead, give him a hand. Absolutely. Absolutely. Do we have an arm?
Yeah, we have it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just from this year or the upcoming year, who do you think are the rookies that are the most promising just throughout baseball?
That's a really good question, and honestly, I don't know. I haven't really even thought about that yet.
It's not your nose.
No. One thing though, not related to that I think we maybe ought to bring up is one of the most fascinating things I think that we're going to see going into this year is how Orion Kirkring comes back.
Yeah.
I was talking to Scott Lowry from the Empire about this the other day. We all know, if we're old enough, the sad story of Donnie Moore, the relief pitcher for the Angels, who gave up in the postseason and ultimately committed suicide over it. And I'm not suggesting that Orion Kirkring is going to do anything that drastic, but I think that we look at Mitch Williams gave up the home run, of course, to Joe Carter, and his career was basically over at that point. But I don't think it was because he gave up the home run to Joe Carter. I think it was just because he was done. Then you look at Brad Lidge, who gave up the home run to Pujols in the playoffs. Came to Philly a couple years later and had the perfect season. So I think that it's going to be really interesting, and I also think it's going to be interesting because now teams, including the Phillies, have actual mental skills coaches. So I think he will have a lot more support than even Brad Lidge got, and that wasn't all that long ago. But I think it's going to be really, really fascinating to see how people respond to him and how he responds to what happens.
Yeah.
Quick question for you, follow up to your question. Do you have a rookie that you're following? No? Okay. I thought maybe, you had somebody that.
Yeah. Trying to get some fantasy baseball tips. To get the hot rookie to them.
I'll do anything.
That's for a keeper.
I'll do it. You got a question? Go ahead.
2027 coming on, do you think there will be a stoppage or lockout in Major League Baseball?
I am fearful. I think the owners are very intent on getting a change in the system. I guess what I don't know is at what price are they willing to get there?
Right.
There's a line from a song by Sting, I think. What good is a used up world? What's the use of having it? And I wonder if they're willing to push it to the point where they get what they want, but what they've done such damage to the sport at that point that it'll be a net loss for everybody. And I hope that's not what happens.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Well, the only thing is that I do know somebody, I grew up with his brother, that he's in the Phillies system, David Beckman,
Okay.
that since he was, I guess, drafted or went to the Phillies, like, following his career.
Gotcha.
I don't know if they'll make it up.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye out.
Yeah.
There you go.
Another local kid, Kevin McGonigal.
Love Kevin.
He may be a guy that's coming up with Detroit this year.
Yeah.
He had a red hot Arizona Fall League where he had to be big.
Philly Scouts missed the boat on him.
Yes, they did.
Missed the boat on him. That kid's a player.
Yes.
Again, raffle tickets. If you haven't gotten your free ones, go back and see soon. You get 2 free ones. You can buy as many as you like. We'll draw right around 8 o'clock. Paul's gonna hang around and answer any more questions, maybe sign an autograph or two. Again, how about a big hand for Mr. Paul Hayden?
Thank you.
It's not often, but he lives in our backyard. He said he was 3 minutes away, so this is really special. So again, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.